So this reading is going to be on the United States. Like I said before, I only do readings like if I feel led to. Um, and that's what I've been feeling since for the past couple of days. So I'm going to open the cards and see what comes up. Okay, already Chelsea Clinton is coming up. So I did check her name, and it is Chelsea Clinton. Let me see. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get this to not stop because I tried earlier on and it stopped mid-reading. Okay. So yeah, Chelsea Clinton's energy is quite strong. And like I was saying, I checked her name and it is Chelsea Clinton. I mean, which is weird because okay, it's not weird now because I understand spiritual happenings. I understand spiritual happenings enough to know or to guess that if I keep forgetting a person's name, it's for a reason. Because obviously, I'm sure I've known her name before, definitely. It's not been a secret. But for some reason, whenever I want to say her name, it's always like with a but. Yeah. And now I'm finding out why. So this card here on top, let me just pull this out and then I'll shuffle the rest of the cards so that, it seems fair, I guess. But her energy is very, very strong. And I'm going to put the link of the previous reading that I did, a couple of days ago. And in that reading, I did talk about the fact that I put two cards, right? One was of a tree, the other one was of a staff, like a rod, a golden rod. That is how America is going to be henceforth. Many people have not wanted to believe. Whenever when I talk about the spiritual realm, it's as if I'm talking about something that's far away, something ethereal, something that does not affect them personally. But I'm sure you can see that there is division in America. So, at the risk of sounding patronizing, okay, let me put it this way. It's not everybody who watches my readings who, has that thought process. But a couple of people do. And my question is just, how do you keep coming to my readings? Because I can feel your energy is very strong, almost like a barrier. And because I can sense it, I know that it's almost as if you want me to take note of the fact that you don't believe that everything is about to become spiritual. So, I mean, it's sort of like I don't want to feel that energy, your energy that is thinking that. And my question to you is, how do you keep coming to my readings and I keep talking about the spiritual realm and I won't stop? So perhaps deep down you're hoping I'll stop. I'm not going to stop. I can't help but speak what my cards are telling me, what my spirit guides are telling me, and they haven't been wrong so far in guiding me. So, but I haven't stopped talking about the spiritual, but you keep coming to watch. And at the same time, forget even the spiritual, in quote, the spiritual stuff that I speak about. Look at America. There is division. You'd be a fool to think there isn't. There's division right now in America. There have always been sort of, little like divisions here and there, but there had been a certain goal that people were working towards. Now there's no longer that goal. And if there is, it's a very faint goal. And that faint goal is never going to be recharged. In other words, whatever you're hoping that will happen for America, going back to the old days, the days of new beginnings, it's never going to happen again. Um, I don't like repeating things that I pick up because it feels as if I'm being patronizing to adults, right? To people that are even older than me. But I have no choice but to say because I can feel your spirit, and it's a resistance. It's as if you want me to say the opposite, which I'm never going to do that. I'd rather have no watchers than no readers than to forsake my spirit guide. So I'm never going to do that. But I just want you to know that, like, aside from the spiritual stuff that I say, that I talk about, Look at the practical America. Look at how obvious and physical realm that the divide is. Do you honestly think that that divide can be fixed? Just aside from anything spiritual, do you really honestly think that that divide can be fixed? And if you do, then you're more optimistic than I am, because I don't see it ever being fixed. I mean, thinking that it would be fixed would be expecting that one side is going to give in, which I still do not see that, or that one side is going to allow the sins that the other side has committed. And this is not according to political party. So no, don't get me wrong. But thinking that is expecting almost that one side, whichever side it is, might forgive. And you would think, okay, well, the Christians might choose to forgive. But then again, that is, how do you know who is a Christian in America? So it brings me back to this, the spiritual, exactly what I've just said, like expecting forgiveness for the physical. I mean, the division is obvious. You don't have to look into the cards. You don't have to be a spiritual guide. You don't have to be a tarot reader, who some people think readers make things up, right? The division is not made up. You can literally see it. It's everywhere. It's on social media. It's in real life. Assaults, blood has been spilled. So the division is real, right? It's not a prediction. It's not something that I've made up or I'm hoping for or I'm not hoping for. It is what it is. It's reality, the reality that you want. And so, for that reality to be shifted onto something more positive in terms of unity, to unify them, you would, what options are you thinking of for that particular outcome? One of the options would include forgiveness, would it not? The other option is war. Blood is spilled, everybody gets tired, and then they just get along for the sake of getting along. The other option, which I'm sure you don't want blood to be spilled, you don't want to spill blood. The other option is forgiveness, right? And forgiveness is a Christian concept. It is an Islamic, a Muslim concept. It is a Jehovah Witness concept. It is a concept, I mean, humanity concept, right? But what I'm trying to say is you would have to be appealing to something you cannot see inside of people's hearts, the inside of them, their spirits, their higher selves. So which brings me back again to this. You can't escape the spiritual side of things. You just can't. Even if you want to fix things that are in the physical, you would have to appeal to the inner part of people that you cannot see with your physical eyes in order to get things done. So that's what people who like to think that, oh, I'm just making it up, or, like she's being too pessimistic, that things will go back. No. And for those who are Trump supporters or who, okay, I'll address the Trump supporters first of all. He's not going to fix things, not in the way that you think, because I sense a lot of, it's almost like you pretend or you kind of hope or pray that, yes, he's talking about economic fixing, which he is going to fix. I mean, things physically, the reading that I did before yesterday, the golden staff, that's very much physical. But you see, around the there are leaves. The leaves are the spiritual side of things. So the leaves are very obvious. So whatever he does in the physical, it will not fix what you're hoping is going to be fixed. So the money that's going to come through, and there will be money, it's going to be inconsequential in the grand scheme of things if you're really for you division in fixing that. So I don't see any particular way for him to fix what you're hoping will be fixed in terms of unity. That's why, again, going back to, and I'm going to put that link again and again, because that reading was about unity versus the truth. The fact that unity does not work against the truth. It does. Okay, unity and the truth are not polar opposites. They're not mutually exclusive, right? But what's happened in America, what's tended to happen is that for the sake of unity, the truth has been discarded over and over, and like it's been getting discarded. So whether he fixes things or not in a way that you see or not, it's not going to fix what you're hoping will be achieved, which is unity among the nations. The sort of unity that I'm talking about that he will bring is, okay, looking at this card, like unity like this, a ring and a piano, right? The piano can only sound if something or somebody touches it, even if it's the wind. even if it's just the wind that goes by, something has to touch the piano. Aside from something touching it, the piano is going to stay there without any sound. In other words, without its proper usage. That is what Trump has come to do. He has come to lay bare the skeletons. So a piano that doesn't get played is a skeleton because it's there, except it's a beautiful piano, in which case, but America at the moment is not that beautiful. Let's tell ourselves that it's not beautiful outwardly. It's enticing to people, but it's not as it's supposed to be, the illusion, which the illusion is not far-fetched. I'm not putting America down, but what I'm saying is the way it's supposed to look, even without being played, like playing, even without playing, sorry, um, it doesn't look beautiful. Unity would make it look beautiful, but there is no unity. In other words, it's like this metal against this piano, right? And Trump is this. Well, I said metal just for the sake of it. I don't know. I don't know what kind of metal that is, but piano. Trump is the ring. The piano is Hillary Clinton. He will be on top. Let me lift this up. He will be on top of the piano, depending on if he moves. The piano will make a sound. But because this is a metal, there's, let's say, a 1 in 30 chance that he rings the right note, the right bell, and the piano itself cannot play on its own. That's where America is. So in essence, like if you look, if it was a hand, right, a hand that was on top of the piano, you could have hope that the hand would forgive. That's where I'm getting at. I think I'm getting at. My spirit is just all over the place because I'm picking up a lot of energies. If he was a hand on this card, then you could say that he's going to forgive. And I'm saying him or his, I guess, what he encompasses in terms of supporters, or half of the nation. And yeah, you could say he's going to forgive. And why I'm saying him, the onus on him, not because he's magnanimous, not because he has a big heart, and I'm neither putting him down. And I like Trump for his honesty, for who he is. But I'm not saying that he's a savior or a messiah. The reason I'm putting the onus on him, particularly because this card came out, was on top, and it says the piano cannot play itself. Therefore, the piano cannot be the one to forgive, right? The piano is not, except the piano suddenly can speak, a piano can speak, but we're living in a world still whereby people do not expect a piano to just get up and talk, get up and walk, get up and shake the hand that is sitting on it. No. And the reason he's sitting on it is because, well, he's the ruler according to the physical. The card is physical according to the physical realm, right? So, but if he was a hand, then you could have a 50-50. Looking at the card, I could interpret that, okay, well, because it's a hand, there's a 50%, even if my spirit guides aren't telling me, maybe somewhere down the line, one could interpret it as perhaps at some point, maybe, but at least there's a chance that the hand is going to reach out and start playing the piano so that it can sound good. Well, no, sound melodious, right? And in previous readings, I've talked about the fact that everywhere we go, there's music. Um, the spiritual room is very ingrained in us, actually, whether we notice or not, because we have different phrases, different sayings. People say things like, he keeps singing the same song. He keeps playing the same tune, right? And when they say things like that, it's not because they're talking about music or a particular song. No, they're talking about, let's say, an argument. So let's say your mother keeps saying to you, have you applied for college, have you applied for college? Every day is the same song, right? She's not singing it, she's repeating it to you. It's the same exact thing everywhere we go. And one thing is that the elites have mastered the art of using melodies in the background. You may not hear it, but the more that the spiritual room opens up, you're going to hear the music they've been chanting, playing. um Music doesn't have to be, sort of like with the piano or whatever, or with the flute. It could also, yeah, it could be with the flute. um Sorry, I'm talking fast. It could be with the flute, it could be with drums. So they could be tapping a certain rhythm in the background, and you would only notice that when you sit still and when your spirit is willing to listen to the kind of music that is being played in your spirit or around your spirit. Yeah. I hope that's not too complicated, but anyway, according to this card, right, it's not a hand, it's a ring, which means that even he would have to be moved in order to get down on the piano, because that ring, okay, he would have to be moved either by, let's say, a really strong gust of wind, which the wind is independent of the ring and of the piano. So it would have to be an outside force coming from outside of America, right, to convince Trump to forgive those who have offended him, or him of his own accord, according to the weight of the ring. Because the weight of the ring, let's say, when something big, something heavy balances on top of something else, according to maybe the laws of physics, is it physics? The weight of it could cause it at some point to just move and end up on the piano, right? But either way, what I'm trying to say is that it would not be easy for this forgiveness, for him to forgive. And therefore, there's going to be a stalemate, because the piano certainly can't forgive. The piano can't say to the ring, it's not a hand, it can't say to the ring, play me. Because at the same time, I mean, we're talking still this physical realm world where people do not expect a piano to talk. Um, it would have to be in the spiritual realm if we really want to use inanimate objects, in quote, inanimate objects to talk, because in the spiritual realm they certainly do that. But as long as people pretend or want to pretend that, okay, we're in this physical realm world where none of these things can do have a spirit, then there's going to be a stalemate, because the ring is not going to move, and if it does, it's going to be according to its weight. And the weight of the ring means that, or could mean that, it would not be a conscious thing. um because again, we're talking about a physical inanimate thing, object. So if it's not conscious, then his forgiveness likewise would never be conscious, which means, since we're talking about the weight of the ring making the ring move towards the piano, the weight moving towards the piano could be interpreted in many different ways, in a myriad of ways, one of which is tyranny, being a tyrant. So he could move towards forgiveness, i.e., connecting with the piano in terms of like playing the melody, getting the unity done. Um Again, unity, because why am I saying unity in terms of playing the piano? To play uh rhythm, you have to put one note before the other, one after the other, one after. That's unity. Like, a song requires unity of notes, right, in order to make sense. So it's like one after the other, one plus two plus three plus something that sounds good, something that is a melody. A melody is not something that sounds rough. That's not a melody. So yeah, in order for that, and unity is not rough, unity is certainly the opposite of rough. So in order for that unity to happen, um it would require this one above to move down. But the person does not want to move down, because number one, they would have to move according to the weight, because the mind isn't there. His mind has been long gone, because he's been attacked mercilessly. So what I'm getting here, this uh you can see here, it's like a galaxy, or a sort of like side of the earth. He's long gone, he's not even on this planet anymore. So again, this takes me back to spiritual, readings and stuff. If somebody was ever to say that Trump has died, is not the real Trump, they wouldn't be wrong. So this takes me back to the fact that I've said it several times before. There is no such thing as a a bad or a wrong reading. It's just according there isn't. It's just according to timelines or interpretations. Um, which is why I always tell people, if you're watching my readings, feel free to ask me questions, as many questions as possible according to this, because if I say something that may sound contradictory, it's actually not contradictory. It could just depend on time, on the timeline, right? So he is long gone. He's not even, and you can see that the majority of the light of the planet is on the side of the ring. It's like up, it's not down. There is the planet down there where the piano is, but yeah, and it's the piano that is the dividing factor, right? The piano divides. So it's like the side of the planet that we can see that is on the side of the piano is below there, and it's darker than this light here. So he's gone. He's light, the light, right? He's light years away. So these words aren't by accident. He's light years away. He's not even there mentally. His mind isn't there because of what he's gone through. He's like darkness, and the only light is him being away and doing things that are metallic in nature. In other words, very like, I know how to do this, therefore deals, trading deals, for example. You might see him talking about the economy, deal, because it's very metal. Talking about money. I'm going to do this because this is what my hands are trained to do, like a robot, metallic. So he's aware that his mind can never engage in that anymore. Yeah. He's been far too heartbroken. Yeah, by this division. And it's not even the attacks on him, actually. What I'm sensing is like the division. It's like he's aware that according to himself, he's very petty. He's a very petty man. He's aware that according to himself, he could not forgive. Even if it kills him, he could not forgive. He knows himself. That's what I was saying earlier on. Like, I like his honesty to himself because he's very frank, brutally honest to himself, almost to a fault. But he's like, I could not forgive. I could not forgive. You see this divide? Yeah, I could not forgive. They created the division. This is from his standpoint, right? Other people's standpoints would say he created the divide. So again, this is not, I don't want to be attacked, not because I'm afraid of being attacked, but because I hate when my words get misconstrued. This is from his point of view. He's not going to go down with his mind because his mind is disengaged. He can only do things with his hands, what is ingrained in him. So it would have to be the weight of him, of his power. In other words, I'm going to use my presidential powers or my presidential pardon in order to do this and this and this. But it's like, if he does that, the side of him that doesn't have a conscience, because his conscience is long gone, but the side of him that doesn't have a conscience, because is rational. Rationality is not mutually exclusive to a conscience, right? So, like, his conscience can leave and the rationality can remain. So the rational part of him is like, even if I use my presidential pardon to get this and this done from members of the other side, it's not going to be taken lightly. They're not going to meet me halfway, and it's not going to have the effect. In fact, it would have an adverse effect. And they're going to do more that will cause my heart to be pretty much entrenched in not only never forgiving them, but also using the opposite of my presidential pardon. In other words, my presidential powers to have the whole country on lockdown, right? That's his mindset. So he doesn't want to go there. He's like, no, forgiveness, nope, it's never going to happen. Which means, therefore, if that is the case, the piano is never going to move, neither is the ring in terms of, let me say this, the ring could only move if somebody moves it. But I don't see anyone that could move it enough for it to not have the adverse effect, if that makes sense. Because there comes a point where, and I remember talking about this in the reading in 2019 that I did on the elections, that people keep waiting for something for something to happen that will make things better, whereas it's not. Waiting actually makes things worse, and that is now what has happened. Literally similar to the royal family. You see with Kate, she keeps she keeps antagonizing the public, thinking that things are going to get better, but she's actually pushing, she's pushed really, but she doesn't realize it, and neither does the public, to be honest. But they still think that they can buy themselves back if things have backfired, whereas they're never going to be able to buy themselves back. The public will never forgive or forget that. Likewise, like what I do see is like people waited way too long, and now we've gotten to the point of no, well, they have gotten to the point of no return, whereby America, if it can be saved, would only be saved by division, not by any unity. And when you think about the name United States of America, it's pretty dire, the fact that now the only solution is division. So thinking of that now, I want to look into the cards to see what that would entail or what that would mean. But any outside force that intervenes at the moment would only make things, it would exacerbate the division. Yeah. Ooh, okay. So that's pretty far apart. That's far apart. Let me throw a third time. Everybody looking their own way. Everybody looking their own way. Right. So, okay. That was the fourth time, right? So I got in my spirit that I should do three times only. I decided to do the fourth time because it's like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Literally, I can feel the division and it's like entrenched. So the fourth time that I threw just now, you saw, this one remained in my hand, right? And then it just like, everything fell, and then this one sort of stuck on my hand, and that was the only one that did that in the four times that I threw. Um Basically saying, and this one is like, listen, I might be the smallest here, but I'm small enough to match the animosity that everybody else combined has between each other. So, in other words, stop counting, stop throwing to see a different result. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So, it's like it getting stuck in my hand is pretty much like you're wasting your time, and I'm going to stay on your hand since you want to see if there's any kind of no division in any kind of way. I'm the small, like me being the smallest, I'm gonna stay in your hand and cause that division. So even if these ones fall on the table united, I'm still here. I'm the smallest. And the smallest is the future generations, babies, the future generations. So it's like even the future generations are speaking. They're like, America has gone too far. It needs to, like, they've gone too far. They've pushed the boat. So future generations themselves are telling me, I'm not going to unite myself with these. I'm not. My parents could tell me, let's be united with these people, and I'm never going to do that. Yeah. So I'm gonna stay in your hand. And I feel the annoyance, even not at me, I guess, but the mindset that I was like, no, no, no. I'm gonna stay in your hand. Let them fall if they want. I'm gonna stay in your hand. And yeah. So this card again, I pull it from the middle, right? Division. Division. I really hope you can see it. I think it might be blurry. What I'll do is I'm gonna upload the card um as the thumbnail. I'll try to do that. So again, you can see division here. And it's not just division, but there's also birds, right? Birds. On one side, the birds are visible. Again, similar to that card earlier on, where the planet was visible, the light. On one side, the birds are visible. On the other side, there are also birds on the other side, but it's less visible because it's more on the picture. So okay. So I picked up the cards, right, to read the energies and what I was seeing, and Chelsea, why Chelsea Clinton. This is the state of America. Um what's on the surface is not what is going to remain. In other words, the ignoring of spiritual happenings. Um, People seeing things like spirit cooking, right? Coming out of WikiLeaks and ignoring it. It's no longer going to be ignored. They're no longer going to be able to ignore it. Why? Because there's going to be a very strong force. When I say force, I mean literally like you can see on this card with the planet, like a shield almost, but it's not a shield. It's far from a shield. You know when sometimes like you feel like, let's say you're about to leave your house and then you feel a force holding you back as if you should stay back. Imagine that kind of energy, that kind of force times a billion. That's what's coming ahead. And I just want to say to people who watch these readings, and I know that I put these readings out for a reason because I'm very aware that my voice carries through waves. I know that it's not just the people who physically come on the page to watch. Once it goes out of my mouth onto this social media is like a medium, right? Even in the spiritual realm. People hear it from the spiritual realm. So like they may think that these things would only happen when they die, but it's not. Even if you pass away, even people who have passed away, they are still going to feel these energies in the next realm. What I'm trying to say, when I say the spiritual realm is coming on board, it literally means that you and I are here on this planet. They are also on this planet. We just cannot see them. That's exactly what I mean. I'm trying to say. In that, so in the previous reading, right, that I did on in the previous reading on the US, I talked about the fact that they would poison Joe Biden, and gradually they poison him in order to get his spirit. Like they have different things. Like nothing is too far fetched for these people to do and for these things to exist. They exist, We see them in cartoons. So for the fact that we see these things in cartoons, it already means that it does exist. We just don't, many of us, I guess, myself included, just don't know how to go about acquiring these things. But if the human imagination can conjure up these things, they definitely do exist. Our minds do not conjure up things that don't exist or have never existed or will never exist. It's just not possible. Yeah. So I said that they poison him and that they poison him and then he comes out. It's not the same Joe Biden. That is because it isn't. So I'm sure that you've been aware of the different pictures, videos that have been taken of him coming out, Okay, let me put it this way. Jill Biden is not happy for the fact that they have poisoned her husband. But Joe Biden is not happy, neither is he there. The one that okay, I'm kind of going off on it. I'm Let me explain what I'm trying to say. The reason I mentioned Jill Biden just now, the red that she was wearing, that is her rebellion. But the red also signifies the blood of her husband that they spilled. So she is rebelling. Yes, she did absolutely vote for Trump. I mean, that's from what I'm saying. The cards categorically, yes. Joe Biden, however, so because I see the narrative that people are trying to build, and a lot of the narrative is being driven by the people who have poisoned him intentionally. In that, so when they're sending this Joe Biden, it's not the same Joe Biden. It's not him. It's in order to change time. That is why there's been a timeline shift. But what they did not anticipate was Trump. So again, back to what I said earlier about the fact that I like how straightforward he is to himself, how brutally honest, because even to a fault, because when someone is honest to themselves, they're not a hypocrite. There's not a lot of places that they can hide from themselves or from other people's deception. Yeah. So, which means that he is unable to make room because there's no room in him for other people. In fact, even calling him a narcissist, like a lot of people like to do, it doesn't contradict what I'm saying, because a narcissist is full of themselves, right? If they are full of themselves, like a true one, if they're full of themselves, then they don't leave much room for other people, which means that he does not leave much room or any room really for people to put in his mind that he needs to shift. like this card, right? That he needs to shift. So these two cards are sort of next to each other. Or like this here, that he needs to shift in order to make room for the new Biden, whilst pretending that the old Biden is the same as the new Biden. In other words, like, oh, it's the same, it's the same. Never mind that these cards are not just across opposites, but one is facing down, the other one is facing up. Um, there's even a piano here again, talking about unity and division. What I'm trying to say is that they the way the spiritual works and like time shifting, this is one of the ways, a big way that they've mastered. So they poison a person with whatever concoction that they have. They do chant rites. The person comes out, it seems like the same, but there's a veil that covers people's eyes. But it's not the same Biden. Why? Because I keep seeing in the spirit, he is alert in hatred for Donald Trump. So the very fact that there's this narrative being woven now that he's happy that Trump won. No, he isn't. I'm not talking about Jill. Jill is different from him. Again, duality in energies, right? Even in amongst couples, when it comes to this thing I'm talking about, he is not happy. Um, Even if it came down to Kamala, who he doesn't like, he would prefer Kamala 100,000 times. In other words, the Joe Biden that you saw for a couple of weeks, who was berating Trump, that is the real Joe Biden. He is not power with Trump. The reason why there's now this sort of narrative being woven that, oh yeah, Jill did this, and therefore she also reflects her husband because he came out smiling. That's not this. It's not the same story. Jill's narrative is different from Joe Biden's own. Joe Biden's own is that, and the reason I'm mentioning Jill is because her spirit is insistent that, again, there's division. She's insistent that she doesn't want to be wrapped up in, I'm a fan of Trump. No, I'm voting for Trump because they've been spilling the blood. So the red is significant of two things. They've been spilling the blood of my husband, therefore I'm voting for this red tie candidate, right? The Republican Party. That's the only reason. I don't want my spirit to be meddled into all of this. So that's her different. And for Joe, it's not the same Joe Biden coming out smiling because Trump has won. It's a different one. And the reason why they have substituted him, it's in order to shift timelines. It's in order to say, well, since Trump has won, let's weave this narrative. And it's very powerful. You might think that it's not powerful and, oh yeah, what is going to matter? They're not friends anyway. But pay attention to how you're thinking, yeah, they're not friends. They're always going to be opposite. But pay attention to how it's like smoke. The narrative, it sinks in. It's underneath. It's almost like crawling in the blood under your skin. Before you know it, people are saying, and they're quite convinced, and it becomes a convinced majority that say, well, these two have been working together forever. Like, otherwise, nothing explains this. Because the narrative then becomes entrenched. You see the pictures, the smiling, the holding hands, and you're like, oh yeah, they've been working together. So therefore, because there's always a purpose for these manipulations and timeline shifts. Whatever you see, again, which is why I've talked about before, that it's not about Trump winning or Trump not winning. There's something ahead of Trump. He's a divisive figure. He's a dividing factor. Whatever is ahead of him is what you should pay attention to. I mean, again, just like with the royal family, the readings I've done. So what them building this narrative, right? You see the pictures before you know it, because your mind is not fighting against it. Your mind is considering it. And all the elites, all these spiritual people need is 10% of your imagination. Before you know it, they've gathered 10%, 10%, 10%, and they've made a coalition of firm belief in your heart. And once that is entrenched, you would need spiritual working to intentional spiritual working to say, yeah, this is not true. To go back to the timeline you were before, where you knew in your heart of hearts that, yeah, these two are polar opposites. They may both be narcissistic, but they hate each other equally. You would need to do that intentional spiritual work. Otherwise, this narrative that is already being built will come. And the reason for building this narrative that they are bodies, it's like, oh yeah, you see them smiling. So therefore, what you saw before was not real. The things that, again, I'm speaking from the perspective of the one that is on top, at the top, is not real. Whatever he said, because it's a different Joe Biden. The Which is why the narratives that they're building in the spiritual realm would sound very convincing. And because it's a different Joe Biden, it's not him. There is it's a different person. So he comes with his own timeline, which is why it can be very difficult, very, very difficult if you're not when you're not paying attention to fight against these things. Because how can you say, oh yeah, it's a different how can you say convincingly to yourself or to someone, other people, that yeah, no, I still see that division in the same way I saw it before the elections, right? Because something in you feels as if it's genuine, quite genuine, what you're witnessing between the interaction between him with Joe Biden, the smiling and everything in the cameras. But of course it's genuine, but you have to pay attention to what kind of genuine is it? It's not genuine in that it's the old Joe Biden that is doing it. No, it's like it's genuine, yes, but what is the genuineness, if that's a word, genuineness grounded in? Well, it's grounded in the fact that it's genuinely a person who does not have the same or similar sentiment. Okay, same, not similar. Who does not have the exact same sentiments that Joe has towards Trump. So yes, when you are seeing that genuine interaction, when you feel that pureness of, like, the pureness of intent, it's real, because that's not Joe Biden. But the fact that you can neither prove to your spirit or to your senses that it's not Joe Biden or the game that is being played, you tend to believe it, which, again, talking about different realities, it's true. You're not wrong. You're not lying to yourself. But once you realize that it's not the real Joe Biden, then you realize that you were lying to yourself, but not in the same way. It's like I was lying to myself, not about the fact that the intention is genuine, because it is, but about the fact that it's Joe Biden. Yeah. So you can see what, like, the intricacies, right? But anyway, the reason why they wanted to shift the timeline by introducing a new Joe Biden and make it real as possible, to form the coalition unity. So whenever I'm talking like fake unity, I'm not talking about what you see on top, people saying let's unite. No. In fact, those words are merely just like paper in the wind, paper in water. It no longer means anything. And this takes me back. This is what I've been saying about the spiritual realm coming on top. No matter what people say in the physical, it's not going to matter anymore. What matters is what is underneath. So you would have to engage your spirit. Yeah, you can use your mouth, but your mouth has to be in accordance with what your spirit is actually doing intentionally in the realm of the spirit, right? So they want to form a coalition. So when I say they, I'm talking about the people currently in the White House, Joe Biden and co. Okay, not Joe Biden, the real one, but the one that we keep saying. Once they form a coalition, then they can say, so if this is the case, that he's willing to go the extra mile this far, not only get Trump the win, but also smile, not be afraid, not be ashamed to smile, to say it through not verbally, but say it in his body language, that he's proud of his choice, of his decision. Then does that not mean that what he was saying before about Trump and his family and Hitler is not true? Because he was just saying it for politics prior to the elections. But now that so in other words, he's just a self-interested career politician. There's no bad blood. He was just saying those words because he had to say it. There's nothing entrenched, because bad blood, when blood has been spilled, it becomes very difficult to move things. I mean, again, Jill Biden, who would have loved to remain in power. Think of it. She would have loved to remain in power, but she was willing to remove herself from power, just because if Democrats stay in power, of course she remains in power, right? But she was willing to shift that pendulum, because the blood of her husband was spilled, who she loves dearly. So when blood is spilled, and according to Trump, blood has been spilled, that is what prevents him from even moving from his position of non-forgiveness, because blood. So what they're trying, in them shifting the timeline, according to Joe, or the false Joe, is like, yeah, blood hasn't been spilled because there's no bad blood. There's no bad blood. So they keep repeating these things in the spirit, no bad blood, no bad blood, in order to get Trump, or the essence of Trump, that part of him that holds on to blood and unforgiveness, to say, oh yeah, it was just politics, right? Look at it as politics. I didn't mean it. Because the way Trump sees things is like, if he really meant it, people have, so you see this affinity that Trump has to Israel. It's like, people died. So the blood that was spilled, you're really saying I am like that? I would spill the blood of such people that I love. Yeah, I'm never forgiving. I'm never moving. So they see that mindset. So for them, it's like, listen, guys, to get him away from that spot, we're gonna have to invoke blood, right? Blood for blood. It's like shedding blood, a sacrifice. So we're gonna say there's no bad blood. So that is the tune. Again, music, piano. There's a piano on both. That is the tune that is being played in the background for Trump to hear and say, oh, there's no bad blood. Why is there no bad blood? Because he didn't truly mean it that I'm Hitler. He didn't truly mean it that I'm a tyrant that would kill millions of people. He didn't truly mean it. So therefore, let me remove that revenge, that vengeful side. Let me remove that side that thinks it was out of bad blood, right? Because yeah, let me remove it. That's the essence of the timeline shift. They severely underestimate the type of person that Trump and his supporters are. They're never going to forgive, if for nothing else, but for the fact that, back to what I was saying about Trump being full of, whether it's ego, whether it's narcissism, whether it's him being honest, brutally honest to himself. I mean, I'm not going to let people gaslight me. He is brutally honest to himself. And I don't care what the general consensus or the public says. He's brutally honest with you. If he was just like any other person, then there would not be all this controversy surrounding him. There just wouldn't. It would be, oh yeah, he's just like everybody else. People would not be so anti or pro him. So what I'm trying to say is he's not normal. Like the levels of his energy, be it uh being egotistical, narcissistic, it has to be above other people for there to be a much higher level of animosity or love, right? It's not the same as the average person or the average politician. Even it's not the same. It's a lot higher. Hence why whenever you say his name, people move in different directions. So it's definitely higher, which means that they have severely underestimated the extent to which this man is entrenched in himself. So back to what I was saying about him being full of himself in terms of like being brutally honest to himself. He cannot move, and so he is a representation of, even if people do not like him, as long as they feel, remember, feeling is a spiritual thing. It's, you can't see it, it's invisible. But you can see it in the spiritual realm, of course, but feeling, even if they feel as though he represents them, like, a reason why the reason why the ring is even on the piano in the first place, it's that unity in terms of people not realizing it yet, but the fact that they may look like they are a piano, but they're actually a ring on the inside. Yeah. So speaking of spirituality, so people may see him and think, you know what, he speaks like me. So therefore, I want someone to represent me in that way. Remember political correctness, people not being able to say the things that they want to say, even if it's something rude. They want to be able to say it. It's neither right, I'm not going to call it right or wrong. I'm just reading what I see. They want to be able to say, that's the sovereignty of the human mind, and it cannot and should not be ignored. And Trump did not ignore it. So he calls in, or rather his spirit man calls in to people who want that liberty of the mouth, liberty of the spirit. They want that, so they self-identify with him. He represents them, and so therefore, because we're talking about things of the spirit, it means therefore that even if he ever wanted to forgive these people, he could not, because of how full of himself he is. And being full of oneself is not a bad thing. I mean, don't let people gaslight you. Being full of himself that he is, um, his spirit, whether he realizes what is going on in the spiritual realm or not against him, in terms of the timeline shift, even if he can't put it into words, he feels there's a nudging. Change your mind, but he won't. Because he will not change his mind, That is why there was no uh timeline shift going by unnoticed. That is precise. People have now noticed there's been a timeline shift. A lot of tarot readers or a lot of even astrologers, right, who predicted that Kamala was going to win, they're not wrong. Like even presently, they may look at the cards, they may look at the tarot, they may look at the signs, but Kamala was supposed to win. That's because there's been a timeline shift. And the reason now that we're here with people actually talking about a timeline shift is precisely because Trump did not move. If he had moved prior to the elections and allowed the sense of, or the rhythm of, okay, even if you don't win, we're going to be united in some form, or even if you win, you're going to allow, right, you're going to allow Joe Biden to make it seem as if there's no bad blood, right, you allow that. But Trump is like, no, I'm not even, I mean, he doesn't even realize, he's so full in himself that like his self does not have any room for anything else, that they could not even get a foot in the door, which meant that, I mean, the way these things work, the fact that they can't succeed does not stop them from trying. I mean, we see it with government every day. So they tried. And that is where we're now with the timeline shift, people noticing it. So they could not succeed. We've now noticed there's been a timeline shift and things seem very weird. Well, things are about to get weirder. Yeah. So, to the point of my actual reading in terms of where the United States is going to be, very spiritual, but you have to pay attention to the likes of Chelsea Clinton and, I beg your pardon, anyone else who was mentioned in the spirit cooking. Yeah. Because those are the ones who will lead a sort of a revolution in terms of dual energies, like two kings reigning over America. But one side not reigning over people who don't want them to reign over them. In other words, it's like power going back to the source. She will reign over people who want her to reign over them. No matter how you look at it, that, oh yeah, that person doesn't want to be under that. No, you shouldn't assume what other people's spirits are doing, except you're intentionally looking aside from your biases. So yeah, people's spirits might seem like they don't like something, but they actually do. They'll just pretend, or they wouldn't even realize that they've gone so far to that extent, right? So she will reign over them, he will reign in the physical, and then much more in the spiritual, unknowingly, over the other side. And they won't know it, but it's only going to continue. And what I was about to say as well before I lost my train of thought is that lastly, I'll stop here because I'm getting tired. Um, People might think that the results of the elections are the only thing that matter, and that's it. But it's not. And I'm saying this precisely because if you want unity, it's never going to work. Even if you don't believe me, let me just predict this. If Trump, let's say a member of the Trump family, decides not to run ever again for president, if Trump's term, right, terminates, so let's say you even want to doubt everything that I've said about, the way America is going spiritually, let's just assume that everything goes back to what you see in the physical realm, and that's it, and you're able to live your life normally, and you're able to not see these energies that I'm speaking of, right? At some point, 2028 is going to roll by. When 2028 comes, guess what's going to happen? This cycle, it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until the American people finally have no excuse but to sit down and say, listen, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to be united. As long as they try to hold on, because whenever I speak, it might not be people physically watching me on, the recording, but again, people in the spiritual room, they laugh a lot. Like, I hear the laughter, I hear your laughter, and I mean, I don't want to speak directly to them, but they know I'm speaking to them. They can hear it. They hear my words. You're wasting your time. I'm not saying this because I want to, or because I'm cursing you. No, it's because of what I see in the cards. Like, it's real. You can force unity, whether by force whether by cajoling people, whether by seducing people, whether by bribing people, it's never going to work. The unity, the type of unity you want, because it's gone too far in terms of placing unity above the truth that they've been claiming they want, the truth that they've been claiming they live by, the truth they've been claiming they hold in high esteem, right? So back to what I was saying. If you keep holding on to this and you keep like mocking my words, what will happen in 2028 is bound to come round. You're going to see the other side win. Those who are against the likes of Trump, they will win. 20 or 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 will come round. The other side is going to win. 36 will come round. The other side is going to win. Now, what I'm saying, again, when I talk about the spiritual coming on board, but people don't really believe it because things look like the physical realm is still there. What I've just described in terms of the years, right? It might seem like normal because you think to yourself, you listen to me and you think to yourself, well, that's how it's always been. This party wins, this party wins. But no, think about it again. Where we are right now, when I'm saying that the other party is going to win, I don't just mean they're going to win and then things will settle and they're going to reign. And then, no, things won't settle. The only reason why things have not been burning down physically in the physical realm, like in the 2016, is precisely because they're burning down in the spiritual realm. Again, this is what I mean by the spiritual realm coming on top. Whatever happened in 2016. So when I was doing the reading and I said things are going to be like the next elections will be like a reflection, a copy of 2016. That's because it's true. You might not see all of it happening in the physical. I mean, think about it. The reading that I did, he was running against a woman, another woman again. The media thought it was a landslide for the woman again. The media were astounded again, right? The parallels are there. Now, the only reason why the consequences, I guess, or the effects that happened in 2016, the firing, the fires and all, because it's taking place in the spiritual. And the only reason why it's taking place in the spiritual is because that side, the Chelsea Clinton side, has decided to go even more spiritual, even more down there in order to get things done. That is why you're not seeing as much burning. So when I'm talking about the years and each side, each political party winning, and you might deceive yourself into thinking and mocking my words even and dismissing my words and thinking that, yeah, but it's going to be more or less the same, right? So yeah, let me get on with my work. You don't understand. They're going deeper in the spiritual. So whatever kind of power grab you would expect one side to try after an election is done, the only reason you're not seeing that power grab in the physical is because they're occupied in the spiritual realm. So let's say in the spiritual realm, they might be building tunnels into your mind. So you're looking at the physical realm and I'm telling you to look at the spiritual and you're dismissing my words. Meanwhile, they are building tunnels. Now, the reason why they'll be able to build those tunnels in your head, and believe me, a tunnel is not easy to fill back up because in order to fill that tunnel back up, you don't even know what the building inside the tunnel. What I'm seeing that they're building is pity. Pity is a very difficult emotion to fight against. Believe me, you will need a bucket load of logic to fight against pity, even against the most heinous. I mean, the kind of pity I'm talking about, right? This spiritual, because they're very intentional about doing it. So, of course, they're going to pile it on. It's the kind of pity that allows for you being raped and forgiving them whilst allowing them to rape your child and your children. Think of that. So it's not just that, oh, I forgive them. I even feel sorry. I feel pity for them, but I'm never going to let them in my life. No, it's a sort of pity that allows. So these tunnels I'm seeing, they're literally railroading like tunnels in your mind on the ground, and they pump in pity, emotions of pity. By the time you realize what they're doing, you're already, this sounds vulgar, but your legs are wide open for them to come through, for them to come in. And then it's like a road, a motorway. Any car, anything can come in. Like you can get, again, it may sound vulgar, but this is, I mean, it's your spiritual. You would get violated many times over and over again until you realize that this is nothing to feel sorry for. Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what they've been. So you might look at this and think, oh yeah, I can mock her words and I can say this because, you know, we're gonna go back to the usual. This side is gonna win, blah blah. It's not merely the physical anymore. It's the spiritual, and that's what they're doing. So any kind of dismissiveness that you want to have, you're already halfway there to being conquered through the pity. They're doing this on so anytime you feel sorry for something, think about why you're feeling sorry for that thing. Let me just put that out there for those who don't even deserve this piece of advice because they've been mocking my words and think like me talking about people mocking my words, right? It's not because I want to be right. It's because I'm not a hypocrite. If I was, I would not mind um I would not care for people who come to watch my readings and who still keep mocking. I wouldn't care. I would just keep doing it because it wouldn't mean anything. But I'm not a hypocrite, so I can see that it does mean something, right? They're trying to change my mind. It's like, why watch if you're not going to take things seriously enough to at least do something about it? Just why watch? Why would you fill your mind? And the thing is, here's the dangerous part. If you're, and not just for those watching this physically, even people who have tuned themselves into my words spiritually, in the spiritual realm, if you're listening to this and you're hearing these words, if it just so happens that even there's a 1% chance, because that's how the spiritual realm works, even if there's a 1% chance that I'm telling a reality, right? Because like I said before, there's no set truth, it's different realities. If what I'm reading is an actual reality that they're forming in people's minds, then the fact that then you're in danger even more than people who have not intentionally tuned into my words, because what happens is your mind already knows what is happening but you refuse to take notice, so you're violating your mind, you're doubly violating your mind by not just intentionally keying into what you suppose might be the truth but also ignoring it. And that kind of complex machinery in your head, it confuses your mind because your mind wants to know where you stand. Are you going to stop watching this because it doesn't make sense and you don't agree with it? Or will you continue in the hopes that she'll change her mind? Which I have said I will not. So it's like a train trying to go through something, an impenetrable wall. There's nothing, you can't go through me. You can't go through my spirit guides. So where are you going exactly? Why are you watching this? Why are you reading this? Which means that you've now backed yourself into a corner. But repeat, I'm not talking about people who watch and who consider it. No, I'm talking about people who back themselves into a corner by intentionally mocking my words and then not doing anything even remotely to even investigate. Never mind, don't even try to protect yourself, right? Like I've suggested. No, no, just assume you're even protected and nothing will happen to you. Have you tried looking to see if these people really are as dangerous as I've said? If you're not, then you're confusing your mind and you back yourself into a corner. And what happens if you're backing yourself into a corner? The tunnel that they're building is going to reach, it's going to reach the peak of your conscience, of your mind faster. So what I'm trying to say is that they'll reach a point where you cannot even close your legs anymore to them. You're just going to be wide open and that's it. It's going to be forever, a forever thing, because that's your spirit you're playing with. So I just want to say to people, because I've taken some time to talk to these people because it matters. Like Chelsea Clinton's spirit is there and she is reigning over some people, and those people, some of them are still playing a game, and they think that it's me they're hurting. It's not me, because I'm well protected by doing these things. Even talking about it, because it's what I see in the cards, right? But are you protected? Because Trump or not, it's not going to stop the fact that these people are way more spiritual than you give them credit for. Whatever you want to accuse Trump of or his supporters of, this other side is way more involved when it comes to the spiritual. Yeah. I mean, spirit cooking. So you could either assume or conclude that Oh, yes. Well, you're saying if you're a supporter of Chelsea Clinton and the likes. Oh, okay. Well, or even if you don't support her, let's just say you support people who like her because it's a unit. Well, yeah, you're saying she's spiritual. Then, but so is Trump, right? He prays. Yes, that's exactly my point. You don't want to assume that one is less spiritual than the other. You just don't want to assume that. It's better that you err on the side of caution. So I haven't talked about protecting yourself from Trump. That's because I haven't seen that in the cards. He's not actively doing that in the spiritual realm. He's minding his business. Like I said, his mind is far gone. But if you so choose to protect yourself from him, by all means do that, by all means. And if you want me to help you protect yourself in any kind of way, do let me know. I'll help you. But from what I'm seeing, this side that has been the losing side in this timeline, they don't want to let things go, so they will build these tunnels, they will persevere, they will pervade, and they will come into your spirit, except you choose to protect yourself. Yeah, so that's the main thing, because these energies are not going to go away. The division is still there. Yeah, the division is still there. So let me throw this one last time because I want to see something. Yeah, so what I'm seeing is, okay, so I'm just tapping it like that because, well, okay, all right, one last time. So the reason I'm tapping it down rather than throwing it like I usually would is just because, there's always the side of me. I want to remove any bias of the division staying because of me. Like, not in the physical exactly, but I'm saying like me reading division because of how I've thrown it. Yeah. So this one here, you can see, well, okay, I don't know if you can see it. This here, it's not lying down like the others, right? It's sideways. It's sideways. And it can be very rare for a cowrie to come out sideways, and it's right in the middle. So it's like, this is the tunnel, this is the train. These are people's minds, people being united. So it's like, okay, you've used another method, you've tried something else, right? For anyone who might like to think, can't something be done? Can you not try anything else? Can the American people not try anything else, right? In terms of unity. But no, because what this is saying is, even if something else, another method, like me putting it down, is tried, this is what's going to happen. This is never going to be stable. The mentality, this is the brain. The brain will never be stable. It will always be folded. Like these two here and these two here are face down, right? But this one in the middle is like this. It's almost like this. I wish I could, yeah. It's like this. It's not settled like the others. So it's like, even if the physical realm is settled, their minds won't be settled. And the minds are right there in the middle. So it's like the camp. So again, talking about Trump being as spiritual as Chelsea Clinton, yes, of course. So exactly, take note of that, because that is actually going to save you, because it's like, yeah, consider that fact. Don't think that one side is not spiritual, because they are. They both are. So these two here, they are united in terms of the side that they're in, right? So if you're even thinking or hoping that being kind enough or too kind will cause someone else from the other side to come over, it won't happen. What the Karis are saying is, even if it looks like they will, this person right here is gesturing, right? Facing this side and saying, oh, come over. Look, I've forgiven, I've forgiven. And these two decide to go, the mind won't allow them. The mind will never, ever, ever allow them to go. And the way the spiritual is coming on board, the mind ends up, because this is quite a big one. I really wish I could zoom on it. I think it's the biggest. It's saying like the mind is going to become bigger than the physical. So it's akin to that feeling you get when you want to walk out of your door and something holds you back. It's like the mind will hold you back. And I'm not just talking about the mind holding you back in terms of Yeah, are you sure you want to be friends with those people? No. I'm talking of the words that have been said over the past couple of decades. Those words have coagulated to become a tangible thing in the realm of the spiritual. So therefore, it's a wall. Even if you did not want to pay attention to what your thoughts are telling you, there's a wall that cannot be shifted. That wall cannot go away. So it's gonna be like a field, like a transparent barrier that says nope, no going. No matter how much your mind will try, and if it's better to not even tire yourself thinking about it, because you get so tired trying to move across to the other side that it's not even gonna happen. Yeah, honestly. If you feel as though someone that you knew that was on the other side has come over to you, that is because the person was already on your side. Yeah. So I'm not at the risk of sounding bold, I'm not reading wrongly. You might think, oh yeah, this person, but this person has changed their mind. So, what Psychic Tarot was saying, no, they were already there. They were already there on your side. They just didn't know it. Because when the spiritual realm shifts open, it means that even people who were deceiving themselves, whether knowingly or unknowingly, maybe deceive is the wrong word. Maybe who didn't know what they were doing based on what was happening in front of them, right? Yeah, they would be there. They just wouldn't know it. And then when the layers get peeled off, then sorry, when the layers get peeled off, the wall, they start feeling the wall that separates them from other people. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop the reading here. Um, yeah. I might do further readings later on. If more comes up. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Any questions that you have, please do let me know.